I would also like to express my disappointment over the selection of Common Ground for civilian oversight of the VPD. Common Ground appears to be largely made up of many of the labor groups and religious organizations that have historically engaged the VPOA. They do not appear to have a long or proven track record of successful police oversight and intervention. There are tens of thousands of Vallejo citizens who are not part of a labor union and who have no religious affiliation. Those residents are not being fairly represented in this process, and they deserve a voice. Why aren't community advocates and organizations like FAM, Vessels of Vallejo, and Vallejo Peace Project, who have been actively fighting for police accountability, being given a seat at this table? Why hasn't Chief Williams taken the time to sit down with any of them? We keep hearing words like reform, accountability, and trust, and phrases like 21st century policing. But at the end of the day, an unarmed, surrendering man was murdered on his watch. Crucial evidence in that murder was destroyed, and the people responsible are still on our payroll and still in our streets. The VPOA has terrorized our community for decades, but they haven't done it alone. They've had the consistent support of many council members, city managers, district attorneys, police chiefs, labor unions, and even some religious organizations. Reform, accountability, and transparency are needed at every level. Thanks. I yield my time.
Thank you. It's difficult to say that one group is better than the other. And I would encourage you to look at some of these other folk as part of your advisory group.
Mr. Mayor, may I speak to that?
Yes, please go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, you know, it was difficult when I made the recommendation to really understand the role of Common Ground. So we did have, Ann and I had a meeting with Common Ground this week, and their first goal is to make sure that they reach out and welcome every single group out there. So they're not my advisory committee. They're there to help me help hold the meetings so that we can have listening sessions and so forth. So I want to make that clear that they're welcoming those organizations that were mentioned by the speaker today. Certainly, I know one of the groups I've met quite a bit with was the E-Racism group, and they wanted to reach out to them too. So they don't want to be the advisory group. They want to be they want to help organize or bring people together. And I think at the end of the day, let's remind ourselves that council, you make the final decision. So they're only going to bring people together, and then there will be council work sessions, again, inviting all of the public into those, but their meetings will also do that. So hang on, we're trying to establish kind of an outline of what that looks like so that we can inform the whole community what it looks like and how they can access and be part of the conversation again.
I'm really concerned. I know people have spoken about Common Ground, possibly bringing in Vessels of Vallejo, different organizations. My concern is that I know we've spoken about E-Racism, but I think that E-Racism should be at the forefront. And I think that my concern is these violent acts are happening in the Black community. Let's be frank. The majority of mothers who are suffering are Black mothers. The majority of young people being killed are Black kids. So I think that it is very important in the Black community that the Black community be at the vanguard of this, with no disrespect to any other organization, but Common Ground does not represent the Black community. Vessels of Vallejo doesn't represent the Black community. E-Racism, of all the organizations that we've even talked about, is the best collective representation of the Black community. And I think that whether people like that or not, they need to accept that no one can choose Black leadership, and any attempt to do that is really harkens back to some of the worst racism in this country when it comes to manifest destiny and being able to choose who represents us and who doesn't. I was elected by a very large majority of support in the Black community, not only in my council run, but in my mayor's run. And it's because the Black community wants to have a voice. And I think that any attempt to marginalize that voice or get to decide, well, we don't like this voice or that voice or this voice is too strong, I think is a mistake. I'd like to see racism, as we talk about Common Ground, we need to start talking about racism in that way and Black leadership in that way, because this is a problem in the Black community in particular. And unless we have a voice, I think that no one can come into our community and say what we think is best.